Pocahontas was born in 1595 and raised in the Chesapeake Bay area of what is now Virginia. Pocahontas' real name was Matoka. Pocahontas was actually a nickname meaning playful one because of her playful and curious nature. Pocahontas was the favorite daughter of the Native American chief of Powhatan. Powhatans were made of 30 different tribal groups and had a population of 14 to 15,000. Pocahontas and her father lived in a village near York River. The village was called Wirrawocomoko. The Powhatan women were the tribe's house builders. Each of the Powhatan's houses were made of a framework of young trees. The roofs were made of mats woven from marsh grass. Besides building houses, the women of the tribe also did house chores like making clothes, preparing the food, collecting wood, hauling water, and cultivating the fields. In 1607, 104 English settlers had sailed in 3 ships and arrived in Jamestown, Virginia, to establish 2 colonies. One colony was North Virginia, which we now call New England, and another colony, South Virginia, which we now call Virginia. These 3 ships were sponsored by groups of English investors called the Virginia Company of London. When the English first arrived, the Powhatans immediately kept a close watch on them. Though the colonists grew corn, squash, and beans, they were not very successful. They desired to trade with Powhatans for corn and meat. In December 1607, Captain John Smith brought 15 men to make contacts with Powhatans for a trade. However, they were attacked by Powhatans. Captain John Smith was eventually caught by the Powhatans. According to Captain John Smith's own writing, he was dragged forward and made to place his head on one of the stones. Two Powhatans stood over Smith with raised clubs, but in this moment, the young Pocahontas threw her body against him to save him from death. After the rescue, Pocahontas became the messenger for her father's relations with the Jamestown settlers. She was spotted passing out food among the English after the fire swept through Jamestown and burned almost all the buildings in Jamestown. The relationship between the Powhatans and English settlers continued to worsen, especially after Captain John Smith returned to England for medical treatment and a new governor was in charge. The back and forth attacks between English and the Powhatans happened daily. But the English desperately needed food supplies, and trading with the natives was the only solution. In 1612, Captain Samuel Argall plotted the abductions of Pocahontas. He thought if the English kept Pocahontas hostage, the Supreme Chief of Powhatans would be happy to agree to trade. Finally, the plot was carried out in April 1613. Argall bribed a native called Japajaws, and with the help of his wife, they lured Pocahontas aboard the English ship and brought her to Jamestown. Before their departure, Argall sent a messenger to Chief Powhatan to request a ransom for Pocahontas' release. He requested the Powhatans to release the English prisoners, return the guns and swords that the Pocahontas had taken and a large quantity of corn. The Pocahontas immediately released the prisoners as well as sending the English a large amount of corn. However, they refused to return the weapons. Pocahontas was then brought to Henrico, a new English settlers town after Jamestown. During Pocahontas' captivity, she learned the English language, religion, and customs under the charge of Reverend Alexander Whittaker. In 1614, Pocahontas was baptized to Christianity and was given the Christian name Rebecca. After the baptism, Pocahontas accepted the proposal of an English tobacco planter, John Rolfe. A messenger was sent to Chief Powhatan to notify him about the upcoming wedding. The Supreme Chief approved the marriage and took it as a sign of friendship. However, since he had sworn to never set foot in an English settlement, he instead sent one of his brothers in his place to attend the wedding. On April 5, 1614, the wedding took place in a little church in Jamestown. Many English settlers attended the ceremony, as well as two of Pocahontas' brothers. To the English, Pocahontas became the symbol of the blending of the Native American and European cultures. Their son Thomas was born after a year. Pocahontas and John Rolfe's marriage marks the beginning of the Peace of Pocahontas. It lasted for as long as she was to live. The English and Powhatans finally lived together as friends. In 1616, Pocahontas, John Rolfe, and their son traveled to London to win support for the Virginia Company. The Virginia Company thought that by presenting Pocahontas to the royalties of England, business leaders, and clergy, she might awaken the interest in the colony and its need. While in England, Pocahontas' health suffered what many historians believe to be tuberculosis, a lung disease. On the way back to Virginia, Pocahontas' conditions deteriorated. She was brought ashore to Gravesend to receive medical attention. However, it was too late. Pocahontas died at the age of 21. The 2-year-old Thomas was too ill to make the ocean's crossing, so John Rolfe left him in England to be raised by his brother. After the death of Pocahontas and her father, the new Supreme Chief Pocahontas, who had no love for the English, organized surprise attack to the English settlers. The colonists struck back and killed many Pocahontas. They destroyed their villages and food supplies. The natives were forced to give up the fertile valleys that had been their homeland. Thomas came to Virginia when he was 20 years old. Thomas' grandfather, Chief Powhatan, had left him thousands of acres of land. Like his father, he became a tobacco planter. Thomas Rolfe married Jane Poitras, an English woman, and raised a family. Many of the descendants live today, and we are one of them.